In today's breaking news, a Republican insider has gone on record as saying Donald Trump is to blame for the shooting of 2 National Guard members in Washington, D.C., and I have his rage and rationale coming up next. Let's begin this report with something very profound that I discovered while researching this story. It perfectly summarizes the Trump racism and hypocrisy that is at the core of his every move when it comes to the urban deployment of troops and the immigration alarms he falsifies to push his policies through. Here's the highlights from Christopher Webb's very on-point post. Why people of color collectively hold our breath when there's a mass shooting or a high-profile crime before the suspect is even identified. Afghan man shoots a National Guard member. With zero knowledge of the background or motive, the right screams that Muslims are terrorists and must be deported. Latino commits a crime. They demand a border wall, mass raids, and family separation. Black man commits a crime. They blame black culture, call us thugs, and push for harsher policing. Arab American commits a crime. They demand surveillance, registries, and loyalty oaths. Refugee commits a crime. They claim all refugees are a threat to America. Jewish suspect commits a crime. They use it to stoke conspiracies about elite globalists. But when a white American shoots up a whole ass, it's the video games, it's the music, it's the mental health, it's everything except whiteness. One group gets collective suspicion and punishment. One group gets endless excuses.
The suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth.
Next, and before I share the Republican insider's blame of Trump for the tragedy in the harshest of terms, I want to remind everyone that a judge ruled that the National Guard's occupation of D.C. was illegal, so the opportunity to have the military stand down as Trump's personal police force was missed.
We do have some breaking news that we want to get to at this moment, and it comes to us from our nation's capital. This is big news as a U.S. federal judge ruled today that the Pentagon's deployment of the National Guard in Washington, D.C. is illegal. It was Judge Gia Cobb who ruled today that the National Guard's deployment was illegal. But we have D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab releasing this following statement, saying, quote, "From the beginning, we made it clear that the U.S. military should not be policing American citizens on American soil. Normalizing the use of military troops for domestic law enforcement sets a dangerous precedent where the president can disregard states' independence and deploy troops wherever and whenever he wants with no check on his military power." The Guardsmen and women have been deputized as Special Deputy U.S. Marshals. The D.C. OAG says that federal law does prohibit the military from being involved in civilian law enforcement and calls the National Guard presence a threat in D.C. to public safety.
I mentioned there was a missed opportunity for Trump to take the troops out